Hello and welcome to the People First Weekly Webinar. I am your host and leadership extraordinaire, Todd Hendricks. This week we're going to be talking about can your team handle the truth and how transparency builds real buy-in with your team and direct reports. And so when I think about the title of this, can your team handle the truth? I think about that. What's that movie with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson where they're standing in the courtroom? You can't handle the truth. Well, sometimes that's the case, but most often not. Most people can handle the truth. They just need to get used to hearing the truth. And that's something that we're going to talk about as well. So, as always, I have three main points that I want to hit on. First one is how your secrecy can erode the trust, even if it's well intentioned. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be a completely blank slate open book where you just give everything away to everybody who wants to know. No, there are still some leadership things that just stay to yourself or stay within your executive team. That's fine. But when you are dealing with people and you are dealing with implementation of policies, events, anything like that, the more information people get, the better. I was just talking with someone yesterday about this exact thing. They have some very, very serious medical problems that have just sprung up in the last week. And they are kind of dealing with that with their employer. And my advice to them was control your narrative. Now, I know that sounds political. You hear that on the news. Oh, they're forcing their narrative on. Okay, yeah. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. So let's take the politics out of it. You control the flow of information if it's about you, your team, or whatever. So people who don't know something are going to fill in the blanks with their own ideas. You don't get to control what their ideas are, right, wrong, or indifferent. They just make it up. And if you want bad information to circulate amongst your team members, that's exactly what you do. You don't give them enough. But if you do give them enough information and it's good information and it's actionable and they can see the effects of that information, then they're a lot less likely to fill in the blanks with whatever they make up in their head. So, yes, you as the leader absolutely need to control the narrative. I know that sounds bad, but you need to control the narrative and the information so that you have good information going to your people and there's not questions about what's going on. So when you withhold information and people know that, or they know that there's more to the story, but you're just not giving that to them, then they start to question you. Why is Todd withholding this? What does Todd know that I don't know that I should know or that I want to know? A lot of people feel entitled to information. We are in the information age where you can just clickety click on a keyboard or on your phone and get just about any piece of information you want. And so a lot of people feel entitled to know anything and everything just because they want to. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's the age that we live in. So my advice is always give more information. Give information that is factual, that is simple to understand, and that people can see the effects of. Why? Because again, if they can't make sense of it in their own minds, if they can't see the effects of it and they don't see that it's true, they're going to fill in the blanks with whatever they want. They might get suspicious. They might fill in the blanks with bad information just to see if you respond, because there are people like that. So transparency fosters that psychological safety. And a couple weeks ago, I did a whole video on emotional infrastructure. And like, oh my gosh, Todd, all these big words, emotional infrastructure and psychological safety. What are we going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya? No. Well, I mean, I guess we could if you want to, but no, we're not. But these are real things that exist. And you as a leader have to understand why they exist, how they work, and how to navigate them. So emotional infrastructure is just that undergirding of your climate and culture. If you have a supportive climate and culture, your people are going to feel supported. But if you have a toxic culture, maybe one of those legs of the stool is going to fall away and people feel uneasy and unbalanced. So you want them to feel psychologically safe. Like, oh, I can trust Todd. He's never lied to me. He's always been honest with me. Okay. That goes a long way because then if you've established that with your people, then even if they don't know something, they at least trust that you have good intentions and will fill them in later. that's a good place to be as well. So the emotional infrastructure that goes along with that, the psychological safety, those are kind of hand in hand, yin and yang, is you need to have that rapport, that climate and culture already built into your company or your organization so that people understand, okay, there's something I don't know, but I'll find out when it's time. Or Todd will tell us when it's time for us to know. Not a big deal. But here's the key to that. You as the leader need to be consistent in getting information to people. So I helped a church go through a large transition with a pastor retiring and a new pastor coming in. And I was part of the committee that was, processing all of that and going through all that. And one of the things that we had was an interim pastor who kind of came and filled the gap during the year that we didn't have a pastor there. And this pastor was fantastic at transitions. This was his specialty. And what he did was every month there was an email and a newsletter containing the same information that went out to the congregation that talked about everything that they were doing, everything that had been done, and everything that was coming up in the next month or so. And so that everybody had good information. They knew what the process was. And if people just know what the process is, that will go such a long way in just making them feel psychologically safe. If you're going through a transition or implementing a new policy and it's just coming at people and they're like, oh, now this, and oh, now this, and oh, now that, and they don't know where it's coming from, that's going to make people skittish and a little uneasy. They're not going to feel psychologically safe. But if you say, hey, this is where we're at right now, this is what we're going to do this week, and this is what's coming next week, and then we'll just fill you in as we go along, but this is the process. Oh, okay, thanks. That's all people need. Just keep people in a loop. And you don't have to give every single detail either. You can give small details. Give them things that are easily digestible and not easily misconstrued. If you go into this long oration of, oh, it's this, that, and the other, and X, Y, tab B, screw this on over here, and all this crazy stuff, people are going to get that wrong when they talk about it. And so then you have bad information out there. So simple, easy to understand, easily digestible chunks of information that people will have a hard time getting wrong. Make it easy. KISS, KISS, keep it simple. Yes. So what does transparency and leadership actually look like? Be open and transparent. I know I'm using a word to define a word, but be open about your challenges, your decisions, and even what maybe you don't know yet. Say, all right, well, this is what we've decided to do. So we know we need to do this next. We're thinking about this, but we're not sure how that's going to go yet. So we still have to do some more research on that. And you may think, oh, Todd, that's bad leadership. You're not giving anybody solid direction on that final point. Right. And that's purposeful. If we go through these things again, it's like, okay, yeah, but we're not sure how to handle this. We're researching that. What does that do? That lets everybody know that it's open and undecided yet. What does that give me? Time and space. Gives me time, space to figure things out. And since I left it open-ended, they know it's not settled. They know something different may change or may come along. That gives me the opportunity, the time and space to figure it out, then insert, then we can discuss and disclose what the thing is that we're going to do. So if you're not sure, just be honest about that. Here's the cool thing. As a leader, don't get so high on your horse and full of your own ego that you can't accept suggestions from other people. When you are working with other people, yes, you may know better. 100% agree on that. People who are doing the job may have some really good input about that as well. I've been involved in that before, and I've been on both sides. I've been like, man, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and I've got the best way, and somebody's made a suggestion, and I've been like, crap, that is better than my idea. Shoot. So now I have a decision to make. Go with the better idea or stick to my guns and do what I had decided in the first place. If I do this, what's that going to look like? It's not going to look good. Now, I have also said, hey, here's the direction that we're going to go. If anybody has any good input about this, please let me know. And then I've gotten some good input. Hey, fantastic idea. I like that. Let's go with that. Let's also add this point and, put my thing in because my thing was good too. And like they work together really well. And then when things are successful, you say, yep. And this great idea came from Jim over there, or Sally over there gave this great idea. And man, this really helped. It gives you an opportunity to show good leadership. When leaders highlight somebody else who is working or doing the thing and they don't take credit for themselves, that builds capacity with the person that you're highlighting. And also, everybody else knows that you're highlighting them. And they know, Todd's not taking any credit for that. He's given all the credit to somebody else. But yet we know Todd was involved in that. But he's not taking any credit. That's really selfless of him. He's a good leader. Just simple things like that. Also, be open about the direction. Like, hey, this is the direction that we're going. So we know we're going to head that way. What's the final destination? I don't know, but we're going that way in that direction. Okay. So if we have to change a couple of degrees off of that direction, that's fine. We're going in that direction. We may make changes. Absolutely. And I always insert that unless it's 100% locked in. I always say, yep, this is the direction we're going. We might tweak a couple things, but yeah, that's pretty much the way it's going to be. If you insert that language, yep, we're just going to maybe tweak a couple things, or we're going to make a couple of adjustments, then what you're doing is you're putting a placeholder in everybody's mind, and they're saying, there might be changes coming. So if you do make changes, it's not a big deal to anybody. You're front loading that information. You're building that into your process so that when and if things need to change or you want to change them, it's easy and everybody accepts it. So the third point is how to communicate clearly without overwhelming your team or your direct reports. Again, break information down into easily digestible chunks. Make it simple. Don't make it overly complex. If you say, yep, I'm going to send you a 5-page email with all the details about this, just read it and get back to me if you have questions. Yeah. Everybody's going to see the email. They're going to read the first couple paragraphs. Maybe one person will read the entire thing and nobody will really understand what's going on because they didn't read it. But if you say, hey, I'm going to send you an email with 5 sentences about the direction, if you have questions, let me know, people are going to read 5 sentences. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. This is coming after that. This is the follow-up, and this is the final direction that we're going to go. Okay. Well, what about the details? I don't want to overwhelm you with the details, so we're just going to let that go for right now. Oh, okay. Fantastic. And lastly, be open about questions. Some leaders do not like accepting questions. They don't like taking questions, but have a meeting and kind of host it like a town hall. Just say, okay, here's where we're going. This is what we're thinking about. This is what we're going to do. Give me your questions. Give me your feedback. Why? Because sometimes the question and feedback is really good direction for you. It kind of gives you an idea of where the pulse of the people is. And then you're like, oh, that's a really good point. We should include that. Or, oh, I never thought about that. That's a huge roadblock that now somebody has an idea how to get around that. That's fantastic. Okay. And then you're getting feedback from your people. Nobody seems to like this. But it's the same people who don't like it, and everybody else seems to be okay with it. So kind of status quo. Or, wow, everybody really seems on board for this. Like, this is really good. Okay. This is probably going to go smoother than I thought it was. Because as leaders, when we really get down to the nitty gritty, implementing change isn't really that hard. It's changing your direct reports' mindsets about it. It's getting them to think and get on board with it. That's the hard part. It's the people. The change is easy. You just have to get people to do it. So find ways that you can give people information, one, that is easily digestible and understood and hard to misunderstand. Make it simple. Don't give a paragraph. Give a couple sentences. Doing that helps you maintain the narrative, maintain the flow of information. It helps you control what people are thinking. And I know that sounds like, oh, we're authoritarian and we're going to control what they think. No, but you are the leader and you are casting vision. You are setting direction. You are getting people to do the things that need to be done so that this thing gets done. Yes. So, yeah, you do need to control the narrative. Just like when you tell your kids to go to bed, all right, it's time for bed. Well, why do I have to go to bed? Well, there's lots of reasons you need to go to bed. You need more sleep than me. You've obviously had kind of a grumpy afternoon, so it means you're probably tired. And you could give them a bunch of reasons. Now, what if your kid's like, well, you just want me to go to bed because you want to watch a movie with mom? Yeah, that's part of it. Everything else is true, but they don't need to know that. Maybe you need a break, mom and dad. And that's okay. That's one of the reasons that you're going to bed, because I need a break. So go to bed. Maybe that's too much information. I don't know. Anyways, I hope you found this helpful. Be transparent with your team. Give them information. Give them more information than what you think they need, because they are going to fill in the gaps with their own thoughts if you don't. So control the narrative, control the information, and make sure it is consistent. Last story, then I'm done. I was working with the owner of a company, and he was talking about implementing some changes. Some things had kind of gone wrong, and he was like, you know what, Todd, this is my fault. And I was like, yes, it is. You need to make some changes. And he was like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start doing a weekly email to my staff so that they feel connected to, because I've been a little bit absent. And I was like, okay, great idea. I was like, but that's 52 emails that you, as a very busy business owner, have to remember to write, come up with content and some sort of connection point for. I said, what about a monthly email? It's 12 a year instead of 52. Think about it. Because if you say you're going to do a weekly email and then the likelihood that you don't do it is very high, then it's going to be one more thing that you said that you're going to do that doesn't happen. I said, I highly recommend, if you're going to do it, I think it's a good idea, but do it monthly, not weekly. And set a calendar reminder on your phone for it. Just say, okay, and because then you only have to do 12. And he's like, okay, yeah, but the weekly's not hard. I can do it. I'm just going to go with that. And I was like, okay, I don't think it's a good idea, but I'll support you, whatever you would decide to do. Okay. We got one email. He did it for 1 week. And I was like, you're busy. Like, I'm trying to protect you from you. You're too busy to do a weekly email. A monthly email, 12, sure, that's easy, because then you've got a month to think about things. You've got a month of history to think about, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. I can just talk about those things. Done. Every week, you're too busy to do that. So whatever you decide to do, whatever flow of information you decide to give out, make sure that you're able to do that. Make sure it's maintainable and consistent for you to do. Because if you can't, then again, it's one more thing that you didn't do that you said you were going to do. And then that also erodes trust with your staff and your direct reports. So I hope you found this helpful. Please reach out to me on Messenger or any of the social media contacts that you have for me. I would love to hear your thoughts and inputs on this. So put a comment below. How do you maintain consistency with information and build transparency and buy-in with your staff? I'd love to hear about it. Thanks, and have a great weekend, everybody.